Morning. I think I'm live. All right. Good morning, Commune Education Revolutionaries. I'm Susan May, and I'm here to share with you all about pointers and boards today. I hope wherever you are, you're staying warm. There's a lot of cold weather going around, and in the United States, probably all over the world, depending on where you live. So I was just doing some exercises to try and warm myself up because it's chilly in this room. I'm going to show you and share with you some of the pointers and the boards that Carter has used, and also some other different types of options, and explain like why it even matters, explain why this can be difficult for parents to wrap their heads around, why it's important, and how do we choose the best combination when we are either beginning spelling, or maybe we've been spelling a while and we're feeling like maybe something needs to change. And so first of all, I think before I show you the pointers, I'll show you the boards, and many of you are probably already familiar with this, but Carter and I have been using stencils. So when he started out, we were on what they call the 3 boards. And the reason they call them the 3 boards is that the alphabet is split up into 1, 2, 3 different boards. And the reason for that is that the letters can be larger. It's easier for them to get to the correct letters because it's a larger target. And as we know, apraxia is a brain-body disconnect, and it's difficult for them to control their bodies. So if we can make it easier on their motor, if we can make this the most gross motor, so there's a difference between gross motor and fine motor, and we're trying, gross motor is usually easier. So you've got the 3 boards, you've got this number board, and as many of you know, Carter and I have been moving to the 26 board, and we spend most of our time here now, which is super exciting in the land of spellers, because what that means is that we are getting closer to his ability to spell out his own thoughts. Because the thing is when you're on these 3 boards, the partner, the communication partner, or the CRP, communication regulation partner, needs to know which board to put in front of the speller. So they need to know what they're spelling, and so you can't have open communication on the 3 boards. So this, super exciting. Now, in addition to stencils, there are also these type of boards. They call these sensory boards, where it's foam letters. And this kind of board, you would use your finger for pointing. Getting a little ahead of myself, but those also come in 3 board types and 26 board, and then you have your numbers. There is also a laminated board that just has the whole alphabet on here and numbers on the back. And of course, there's keyboards, you know, your good old fashioned, I don't have one in here, this is my laptop, keyboard, which is for a lot of spellers and their families like the ultimate goal. Okay, so those are the kind of boards. Now, I already shared with you that, you know, it's possible to use your finger on those sensory boards, on the laminated board, even on the stencil. But what the stencil is really more conducive to is using some kind of stylus, some kind of pencil. And so what happens is that the speller is able to poke through, and they get that sensory feedback. They get the feedback. Lots of times our kids have a hard time feeling their bodies in space. I know this is really hard for us to understand if we have neurotypical brains, but it's true. And so this gives a sensory feedback. It gives them, I think, a lot of other things that I probably can't speak to. Now, I want you to remember, I'm a parent sharing this with you. I may not have complete information. I may say things not exactly perfectly well, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Anyways, the first stylus that Carter used was actually a heavy metal stylus that we bought at Home Depot or Lowe's. It was a home improvement store, and that heaviness seemed to really help him feel where his hand was in space, and it worked really well for him for a long time. But he started when he was 7. His hand was pretty small, so in the last year or so, he's just gotten really big. Those of you that know Carter, he's super tall for his age, and it was just getting too small for his hand. Like, he'd hold it and there wouldn't be much to point with. And so we knew we had to move to a longer stylus, which is usually a pencil. And so we ended up doing a lot of experimenting with things like, what do you call these? Like grippers. This is a weighted pencil gripper, and you can see there's rubber things holding it on. I ended up creating my own. I cut one of these fat grippers, and I put the weight inside of it. So you can see here, the weight is inside of it. Then I use this tape to wrap it around. And this has been a really magical combination for Carter. It's a great, it's perfect for his hand. He can hold it. We have a longer stylus. Now you can see how worn out. This was his first one that I made. It finally got to the point he chipped, as it goes through the board, it chipped away so much that it finally broke. So I made another one, and I think I'm due to make another one. So I got a new pencil here. I'm going to make a new one. Now, I have to tell you, there was a point over the summer where, as a parent, I just started getting a little antsy. We'd been spelling for, oh gosh, over 2 years, and I was watching other spellers use their finger, and I thought, well, why shouldn't we just try? And so I experimented a little bit with Carter pointing, and I believe I was using these, or even pointing on the stencil. And I spoke with our practitioner about it, and she was supportive in that she's supportive of me as a parent, of us trying new things, but she did have reservations, and many times it really is just better for many of our spellers to have something in their hand, because this is, again, the gross motor. They told me right from the start, I think Dana Johnson told me, this is very difficult. It's hard for our kids to isolate a finger. It's difficult for them to keep their hand like this. And I would see this with Carter. He could start off pointing like this, and then eventually his fingers would come unclenched and he might start swiping. It becomes very inaccurate. So for some kids who maybe have a bit better of fine motor, maybe that's an option, you know? And that's why we see so many kids doing different things, or not kids, teens, adults, whoever, spellers doing different things. And this is where I want you to know that it can be really helpful to work with a practitioner who has seen so many different bodies, fast bodies, slow bodies, different challenges with whether it's initiation or termination or inhibition. They understand, because they've worked with so many kids. They are just able, and it's not like they figure it out right away, but they will do this. They will try different boards. They will try the finger. They will try different styluses and different modifications, and they will help you. And for us, it took us a while to get here, and now that we're here, this is working really well for Carter right now at this point on our journey. So we're in a great groove. And so that is kind of like pointers and boards 101. Like I said, it's not everything you need to know, but if it feels overwhelming to you, I really would advise you to try and find a practitioner. Most practitioners will do, if you don't feel like you're close enough to one, because we don't have enough yet, most will have you send them video and do consultations like through Zoom online, and they could help you figure something like this out. I want to share with you the t-shirt I'm wearing. I'm like Superman, because it's so cold. I have my wool sweater. So this says, motor on point, communication on fire. And you can see this is the communication word. It's a pencil. And that's why, because so many of our kids start with this pencil and the stencil letter boards. And motor is like what we're talking about all the time, right? We're talking about apraxia. And so this affects not just spelling, it affects all areas of our kids' lives. And so this shirt I got at Motomorphosis last summer. It was my first time going to Motomorphosis. It was amazing. So Motomorphosis, if you're not sure what that is, it's the largest conference for spellers, for non-speaking. It's put on by IASC, who IASC is the foundation that certifies S2C practitioners. And Kelley, our practitioner, is an S2C practitioner. Now, Kelley is often a main presenter at Motomorphosis because she's very knowledgeable. She's been a certified practitioner for 10 years now. She has a practice in Knoxville, Tennessee called Adroit Therapy, where she actually has a team now. It's her and 2 other certified S2C practitioners who specialize in OT and purposeful motor. And so Carter and I are just very fortunate that we've always had very experienced people to work with. In Florida, we started out with Dana Johnson. Now that we're in Tennessee, we're working with Kelley Howe. And I have to tell you, I really am firmly in favor of people work, even if it's just once a month, a Zoom, or if it's every several months where you travel, or once a year even, getting an intensive so that you have that foundation of working with your child daily at home. So last night, Kelley was our guest speaker in NHS, and she was talking about these motor challenges that our children have. And I was able to speak with one of our, well, not speak, text with one of our members afterwards. And she said, that was amazing. Thank you. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad that you found it helpful, because this mom is a very experienced autism and spelling mom. Her son is open on the boards. If I get permission from her, I'll share who it is, but I'm waiting for that permission. So, but I just wanted to share what she said. She said it was one of the most helpful presentations that I have seen. And because that's how good Kelley is. And I'm just trying to drive home that point of, like, we can work with our kids daily, and that is so important. But it's also important for us to have, guidance, so we don't get into bad habits with our children. Their motor, one thing we talked about last night is that motor, when you practice it, it becomes permanent. So we want to be sure, we can never be perfect, but we want to be sure that we're practicing good things for our kids and their bodies, getting into good habits. I just want to let you know that if you would like to see the replay of that call, there is still time to join Non-Speakers Homeschool Support. And again, remember, you don't need to be a homeschooler to join. I know that sounds weird. I know it sounds like I'm just trying to push this on everyone, but that's not it. That is not it. These revolutions, these education and communication revolutions, if you are pursuing spelling for your child, you are part of both the communication revolution and the education revolution. Whether your child's in public school, private school, in an ABA school, or they're home, they're going to be home with you part of the time. The support that April Bowden and I offer is for people that are doing this, okay? And so we want to be like a beacon of light, a what do you call those things? A lighthouse for families that want to homeschool, because we want to encourage those families. You can do this. What you can do with your child at home is way better than what the education system is set up for right now. So that's why we're called Non-Speakers Homeschool Support. But again, everything we're doing, this call that we did last night, was not about homeschooling. It's about supporting our children in their real lives, in our real lives, which is true for all parents that have a non-speaker or an unreliable speaker. I clearly could go on and on and on about this. I am just so grateful for this community. I'm so grateful because it supports me and Carter. We are determined to keep going on this journey as long as it takes the promised land of open communication. I shared a little bit last week how I see parents who just starting, weeks or months, and they express discouragement already. And I want to simultaneously reach through, give them a big hug, and be like, I know it's hard, because that's the encouraging side of me. And then I also want to shake them. I want to be like, you have to keep going. Your kid is depending on you. There were some words from a non-speaker I read recently in a comment where I don't think they were a child, actually. They were older, and they were so scared that their parent would give up that it made them more dysregulated when they were trying to. When our kids grasp what we're trying to give them, can you imagine? You haven't had communication your whole life. You've been stuck inside your body. You're incredibly intelligent. You have thoughts just like a neurotypical person, but your body is so different, and you're not able to show that. And then there's this possibility placed in front of you, but it depends upon your parent and your caregiver to keep going. It depends upon them to believe, to keep you in front of the boards, to keep taking you to the practitioner. And the level of anxiety that that must induce when you know this is my way out. Anyways, for me, every day I'm realizing how little I understand about Carter. That is, as empathetic as I am, as patient I am of a person, there's a deeper level that I need to go even farther and put myself in his shoes. And when I do, I'm like, dang, I'm so selfish so much of the time. I know most of you don't think I'm a selfish person, and I guess I'm not compared to a lot of people. But so much of our time we spend thinking about ourselves and like our happiness and what we want to do in the moment. And I think about how Carter, he doesn't have that choice. You know, like he's stuck until I support him doing something. And he could be completely bored out of his mind, and unless I put a documentary on the TV, unless I play something or read something out loud to him, he's not going to get that stimulating, engaging environment that he deserves. So these are just thoughts of mine. Man, I'm at over 15 minutes. I love you all, and I would love to hear from you. I'm inviting you to join the revolutions. Homeschool your non-speaker. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Bye.